Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
Hey everyone, hope you're doing well and having a good time. I've got some exciting news for you. I've just launched a brand new channel called Crown Corner that I will be narrating stories on it daily myself. Let's just say that if you love hearing about unbelievable entitled people and those unforgettable Karens, you're going to love what's in store on the new channel. So here is what I need from you, my good friends. Head over to the new channel, you'll find a link in the description below, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you won't miss out on any of our wild stories. Your support means the world to me, and I can't wait to see you there. Let's keep the stories rolling. Thank you so much for being part of this journey with me. And now, let's dive into our stories. I lived briefly in Florida about a decade ago, which is where I met my partner. It wasn't long after we met that we moved in together due to my not-so-great living situation, renting a room from a friend who was so addicted to opioids so could barely function and her enabler husband. We found a nice little two-bedroom house that was owned by an elderly couple that lived just a few blocks away. Everything was okay. We did find cockroaches after we moved in, which was quite shocking as I'm extremely clean and had never had roaches before. And when we told the landlords, they told us that they were not roaches, but palmetto bugs. P.S. They are the same thing, and refused to have an exterminator come in. Bad sign number 1. Then a hurricane blew in. This was Florida after all. It was only a Cat 1 or Cat 2. I don't really remember. But there was substantial damage to the roof and a lot of water had gotten in. Being northerns, we had no real idea how to prepare properly, and the landlords just told us to lower the hurricane shutters. So that's all we did. It wasn't long after we had mold growing on our walls, especially in the laundry room. Reported it to the landlords and they told us to just wash it down with bleach water. So we did, and it came right back, so it was a constant cleaning process. When we complained, we were told that this is what life in Florida was like. They also came and took a look at the roof from the yard and told us, "You two are strapping young men. You can go out there and fix it. Just let us know when you're done." Yeah, no. Then another hurricane blew through. Again, only a Cat 1 or 2. But this time we had windows broken during the storm, and since our roof was still not repaired or even tarped from the last storm, our carpets and furniture were soaked. Here comes the black mold again, but this time not only on our walls but on our carpets and furniture too. I spent the days outside with our dog and we were sleeping in my partner's office. Our landlords again told us to just clean it up with bleach water and that the damage was our fault since we didn't prepare well and hadn't fixed the roof ourselves. So we called the city and had an inspector come by. He walked in and balked at what he found. Black mold all over the carpets and walls. The roach population had a little boom, and he could tell while looking at the roof that it was in need of repair prior to the storm, and it still hadn't been tarped. The best part is when I was standing at our open door with the inspector just inside. The old man came walking up talking about how we better have repaired the roof and how they were going to charge us for all the repairs and carpet replacements and mold removal, yada yada yada. Cue the city worker who came around the corner and asked him if he was the owner. He said yes, and the inspector told him he was condemning the house because it was not habitable and that it was not our responsibility as tenants to make or pay for the repairs. He also recommended that we should be released from the lease. Never seen an old man wobble away so fast. Later that night, his wife called raising high holy hell about how she was suing us for damages, how we were not getting any money back and blah blah blah. She also said that she had removed the condemned/danger signage that was placed on the door because it was embarrassing. People knew it was their property. But she made a mistake. She wrote us strongly worded letters about how we were taking advantage of the elderly, how all the damages were all our fault since we didn't do any repairs, how she would not release us from the lease and how many lawsuits she was going to hit us with. After contacting the inspector who saw our house, who took another trip to the house to replace the signage, we turned all of this in. He laughed inside and said he knew exactly how to handle it since he saw this all the time after hurricanes, and if they actually sued, he would testify in our favor since what they were doing was highly illegal. He then told us he was going to pay them a little visit to make sure the letters got into the hands of the right people, as well as how he had to replace the signs, another thing she admitted in the letters. About a week later, we got a really pleasant call from the landlady saying we were such wonderful tenants and how she was refunding our security deposit and how she was graciously going to let us out of the lease and not pursue any charges or the rent for the last few months, which we had refused to pay since we could not live there. And if we needed help finding a new place, to let her know, she would refer us to some of her friends who owned property too. Nope. We did learn, cause we were watching the situation, that the house had to be gutted and completely remodeled. We actually parked up the road with some takeout and watched the crew haul out sheetrock and carpet. They could have saved themselves thousands if they had just called a roofer and someone to clean up the mold instead of making us call the city and have the house condemned and then do whatever they did to make them change their minds on everything else. Still wish I could have been there when they were confronted by the inspectors the second time, cause the first was glorious. So this is a story about my second big encounter with my crazy neighbor. Just some information. This happened on my 16th birthday, a few months after my I don't work here lady situation with the same neighbor. It was during July, a week before my 16th birthday. I wanted my birthday to be Black Panther themed. All my previous birthdays were Marvel heroes themed. I made my list of invitations. I invited some of my school friends, city friends, and relatives. And since I invited relatives, I was certain that there would be younger kids. So I asked my mom if she could find someone to dress up as Black Panther. She said okay. It wasn't easy finding someone, but luckily my old friend's dad was okay with being Black Panther. Fast forward to my birthday, it was a nice and amazing birthday. My friends and family enjoyed the party, so I was happy. My friend's dad was doing a nice job as Black Panther and was happy that he was making children smile. Everything was perfect, though I wouldn't be writing this if it was. The time came for the piñata to be obliterated. Everyone was supposed to be given a turn in trying to decapitate it. When it came for it to be my little cousin's turn, we, my parents and I, heard a mysterious yelling coming from the front yard. We were celebrating my birthday in the backyard, so we didn't hear the yelling the first time. We went to check what or where the sound was coming from, only to see Karen obviously mad about something. My dad asked her why she was here and why she was shouting, and she responds with, "Why wasn't my daughter invited to the party?" Well, you see, my son is not very comfortable with being near you ever since that incident. So, it was just a small accident. So why wasn't my daughter invited? I told my dad it's okay because I knew she wouldn't leave until we allowed her and her daughter. I thought that things couldn't go wrong since she was happy that I allowed her and her daughter. That was until Karen saw that some of the people I invited were black. Karen threw a fit, screaming why would we invite some racial slur to this party. I told her that we didn't have a problem with any race and that the party was a black superhero themed anyway. Karen then said I was an R-word and started insulting me for making it Black Panther themed. "Mommy, please stop. Black people are nice people," her daughter told her. Karen got mad hearing her daughter say this. "Look what you've done, you corrupted my daughter, you jerks." "You have no right to call my son that, you witch," my mom screamed at her. I wasn't shocked because I kinda expected this to happen the moment I let her into the party. You need to treat all people how they should be treated, not treat them like dirt. Mom kept going. "Fine, you want me to treat them how they should be treated? Then I'll treat them that way." Karen then started walking towards my friend who was too afraid to move as he didn't like being yelled at. Karen then picked up the piñata pad and proceeded to swing it right at his stomach. My friend fell to his knees from the pain and started coughing and crying in pain. My parents then quickly called an ambulance for my friend and they said they would be here in 15 minutes. Karen then started walking over to Black Panther, my friend's dad. "And that's what I think of your black superhero." She tried to hit the friend's dad with a bat, but luckily he was able to catch the bat and take it out of her hands. He then proceeded to tackle Karen, and plant her face to the grass. Also, did I mention that he was a police officer? He then asked some of the adults to hold Karen while he went to his bag and got his radio and some cuffs. I was actually surprised he brought his police stuff with him to the party, but didn't question it as it proved to be useful. He returned with cuffs and his radio and proceeded to cuff Karen and tell her, "Ma'am, you are under arrest for disturbing the peace, attempting to harm a police officer, child endangerment," she wanted to hit the other black kids, "and assaulting a minor/my son. You will stay here as I have already called for a car to take you away." My parents luckily had the number of Karen's daughter's dad, so they called him and informed him of the events that took place. He agreed to pick her up and started apologizing the entire phone call till he arrived at our house. The ambulance arrived and took my friend to the hospital. Karen was once again brought to a nice comfy prison cell to stay in. And since this wasn't the first time Karen hurt a minor, she didn't spend a few weeks in prison but a few months instead. She was also given a fine for my friend's hospital fees and that her husband wasn't allowed to help pay the fine. So in the end, my birthday was ruined and my friend got hurt, but at least Karen got to spend some more time in prison and the fine for the damage she caused my friend. Last summer, I was at a cousin's wedding. His bride and her family had been close with ours since before I was born, and the couple had known each other since they were toddlers, so it was a particularly exciting event for both sides of the family. However, after the ceremony was over and the party had only just started, one of the bridesmaids decided to announce her own engagement. The attention was immediately taken away from the newlyweds and brought to the bridesmaid, who I will call Sarah, and her equally smug fiancé. My cousin's wife, I'll call her Emma, didn't make a scene or utter a single negative word about Sarah. She looked like she was on the verge of tears, but she kept grinning and acted very happy for the other couple. This was unusual, as Emma is typically quite confrontational and speaks her mind no matter the consequences. Sarah later picked Emma to be the maid of honor at her own wedding, which took place last weekend. I wasn't there for it, but my cousin sent me some of the best bits on Snapchat and explained the whole situation. And this is where the fun begins. Emma's two much younger sisters were the flower girls at Sarah's wedding. At the very last moment, Emma switched out the white petals in their baskets to blue ones she had secretly brought with her. She told her sisters not to say anything about it or let the bride see them until it was time to scatter them down the aisle. Sarah looked very confused upon seeing the blue petals, which didn't coordinate whatsoever with her theme. But of course, she didn't say anything about it at the moment. Most of Sarah's other bridesmaids were also Emma's friends, had attended Emma's wedding and were in on Emma's scheme. At the reception, Emma's sister and the other bridesmaid were tight-lipped when Sarah began demanding to know why there were blue petals. The wedding planner ended up getting a lot of abuse for not checking the flower girls' baskets before they walked down the aisle. Finally, it was time for the speeches. The speeches took place in front of a massive screen, displaying a loop of photos with Sarah and her husband, which had been compiled by Emma. Emma took the remote that controlled the presentation screen and, at first, she showed some pre-approved humorous photos of Sarah with Emma and other friends to facilitate a couple light-hearted jokes. Then, at the very end, Emma said to Sarah that she must be wondering why there were blue petals instead of the white ones originally planned. That was when Emma displayed the last slide from her presentation. Emma announced in front of everyone that she was 5 months pregnant and that she just discovered the baby was a boy. Hence, the blue petals. The last slide, her ultrasonic picture. There were shocked yells and gasps. Sarah had a fit, but those involved in the scheme cheered so loudly that I sincerely regret watching the Snapchat recordings with headphones. Apparently, Sarah had been very nasty to her bridesmaids before, driving several of them away and forcing the others to pay ridiculous amounts of money for dresses. Emma and my cousin were eventually thrown out of the party, but they were all smiles. Sarah's fuming mother went to confront her outside and Emma retorted with, "Gentle, gentle, I'm pregnant." I reckon Sarah doesn't speak to the majority of those bridesmaids anymore. I, 32 female, have been dating a widower with a daughter, Nara. Well, female for a year. We currently moved to a new city because of my boyfriend's job promotion. I freelance and are in the middle of settling down. Nara and I get along very well. Nara plays tennis. Since the move, she's been in a school team and competed a bit. The parents of her teammates often organize some kind of get-together, and her father and I tried our best to have her attend most of them. I would say Nara got along well with all her teammates, and I thought the parents were friendly. Last week, the team captain's parents hosted a potluck party at their place. Nara and I brought over some brownies. There really was a lot of all kinds of food. The team captain's father did most of the greetings, telling us his wife was preparing something special for all of us. Once everyone was at the party, the wife came out of the kitchen with a special dish, a recipe of a specific country. Now Nara looks white because her late mother actually came from that very country. The wife host began to serve everyone and share her recipe and ingredients, and how it was not that difficult to make once you substitute the local ingredients. And feel free to ask her for tips. At this point, Nara spoke up, saying that the authentic recipes included such and how their particular scent and taste added to the whole experience of eating the dish. She said if so many substitutes were used, they may as well call the dish a different name. The wife host looked a little unsettled and told Nara that she and her husband traveled a lot in their youth, and she had the dish many times and knew what it was supposed to taste like, and the substituted ingredients worked just fine. Nara then said her mom was from the dish's country of origin, and she understood that some ingredients were hard to come by, but substituting so much turned the dish into something completely different. During all of this, I mostly kept silent. Nara was not being rude, just matter of fact, and as this was a matter of her heritage, I thought she could speak up. The host wife spluttered a bit before saying everyone should just go ahead and enjoy her dish, no matter the name. Everyone tried, though nobody asked for seconds. I personally thought it was a little bland, and there was a lot of leftovers. Nara's team captain later called her, thanking her for putting her annoying stepmother in her place. When my boyfriend came back from his business trip and learned of this, however, he thought I should have reprimanded Nara for being rude to the host. He also had a talk with Nara and she seemed to be sulking a bit, though she was not grounded or anything. Am I the jerk here? And now, with some comments on the post. Someone saying, "You are the jerk." Quote, at this point Nara spoke up saying that the authentic recipes included such and how their particular scent and taste added to the whole experience of eating that dish. She said if so many substitutes were used, they may as well call the dish a different name. That is super rude to do in public like that. Quote, Nara was not being rude, just matter of fact. Truth and demeanor have nothing to do with being a jerk. Another commenter adds, nobody's a jerk. Yikes, I'm surprised at all comments saying that you should have told Nara off. If someone had swapped out a heap of ingredients for a Thanksgiving dinner, I bet everyone would say it wasn't true to point that out. Nara knew the dish and the host insisted that they knew what was right over someone whose culture heritage is from that country's max of privilege to me. If I cooked a traditional dish and someone who knew better than me told me it wasn't right, I'd be asking how to make it correctly and asking where to get the ingredients. The third commenter goes with, going against the grain here and saying that you're not a jerk. This could have been a nice moment to share. The mother could have embraced the information, instead she doubled down. It's disrespectful to just take a recipe, change everything about it, then brag to a native about how you think it's perfect this way, instead of saying you're right, the ingredients are hard to come by, but I loved this dish so much I wanted to recreate it with the ingredients I could get. It's appalling how little the mother of the captain understood the cultural significance of this dish to the stepdaughter. This said, I really laughed out loud at the captain calling and thanking the stepdaughter for putting her stepmother in her place. That alone tell me that this woman probably is a pretentious jerk. The fourth commenter seals it with, you are the jerk and your daughter is a soft jerk as well due to her age. But you knew better and just stayed quiet. Sorry, but your husband was right in correcting your bad manners. The host was trying to share a special dish that she enjoyed on her travels. It was bad manners to be pointing out the differences in front of everyone. In my culture, depending on what part of Mexico you were raised, dishes changed by region. I would never be correcting anyone's attempt to recreate a dish they enjoyed from their travels in Mexico. Honestly, you two were just true to the host. So let me set the scene. I'm a security officer for X security company. I work in a refurbished office building that has been made into a bunch of stores. I have been with this company for almost 8 years. So I have a great professional relationship with the building owner clients and all store owners. Now, I am generally a good guy and I'm relaxed about the rules as long as 1. Your space doesn't get out of hand, 2. I am needed or called for a complaint. This particular day I received a complaint of loud music, so I am following procedures by walking the floors and finding the source. As I get to the 3rd floor via stairs, I can already hear this music coming from the new nail salon. I decided to go to the restroom and on my way back I calmly knocked on the door of the salon and was greeted by the store employee. And the conversation went something like this. I am sorry to bother you, but I received a noise complaint. I know it's the weekend and not a lot of people are here, but I have to ask you to lower the volume, please. Okay, no problem. I didn't think it was too loud. Thank you for your cooperation. She then shuts the door in my face. Rude, but okay. So I continued to the other floors and didn't hear any more music, so I returned to the security desk. About 40 minutes later, the store employee comes down up to the desk I'm sitting at, and this is the conversation that follows. You're a liar. Excuse me? You said you got a complaint against me. I just went up all the floors and nobody said they complained about me. So sorry, ma'am, you misunderstood what I said. She cuts me off before I can explain. Don't try to backtrack now. You're a liar, and I'm going to get you fired for harassing me. I called my boss and she's calling the building owner. Well, I'm so sorry you feel that way, but I need you to return to your workstation as you're causing a scene in front of my clients. And if not, I will have no alternative but to walk you out of the building, as the site has a zero-tolerance policy for these kinds of events. I am so gonna get you fired for this. She then storms off to the elevators. About an hour later, I got a conference call from my boss and the building owner. Morning. I'm on a conference call with the building owner. We received a wild complaint about you misbehaving on site. Just now we want to get your side of things before we decide on what to do next. The building owner then says, I agree, especially since the allegations against you are really out of character, and I have confidence in your performance in representing both our interests. So I give them the rundown on everything that happened and how I handled it. That sounds more like you. However, it's now he said she said that she claims you forced your way into her workspace and was yelling at the top of your lungs at her to turn the music down while yelling obscenities and racist remarks at her in front of her clients, and how you threatened her life if you had to come back up there. She says she feels like her life is endangered as long as you're here working so close to her, and her clients said that she was telling the truth. Now I was pissed. Cue my revenge. As a safety precaution a while back, I bought a body cam that is connected to my cell phone, and guess what? After the conference call was over, I remembered that I turned on my camera and it had been recording since before I clocked into work. When I checked it, I struck gold because I now have a recording of all the interactions with this employee. So after reviewing my audio/video footage, mostly to get start and end points of all the interactions I had with her, I called my boss back. Hey boss, I forgot about my body camera and how I could prove what I was saying. Really? Great. Send me an email with a copy of the footage to review. Okay, sir. And do I have permission to contact the building owner and let her know? If you want to, I'll be calling her after reviewing the footage too. So I called the building owner and told her about my body cam and how I could prove my innocence. I could literally hear her perking up at this. She responds with, perfect. Send it to me as soon as possible. My email address is X. Fast forward 2 hours later, and guess who comes waddling out of the elevators in tears in a sopping mess with a box with her stuff in it? with her head down doing the waddle of shame as she's being escorted out of the property by police. Yep, it's the store employee. Later, I found out that the building owner called the salon owner and was livid that her employee was causing such a scene and had gotten her clients involved with the incident against me, and how that was unacceptable. While the building owner did not have the power to fire that employee, she still made it clear that she was now banned from the building and all its resources, reminding the salon owner that though the employee may call the shots inside the salon, she will have to answer to the building owner once she steps out of that salon. And the icing on the cake? Well, the building owner renegotiated my contract and I got a $5 raise for my outstanding service. Update: the employee came to the site a few weeks later and literally begged me to speak with the building owner and get her to cancel the ban. She begged and tried to bribe me. When I told her no, she threatened to call the police and say that I tried to harass her if I didn't. I grabbed the landline and said, okay, let's call the building owner. When the building owner answered, I told her that the employee is here and I recounted everything she said. The employee started yelling that I was a liar, and I then spoke loudly and said, yes ma'am, my body cam is on and I recorded the whole encounter. At this, the employee spotted my body cam and turned and ran out of the door. Update number 2. A few days later, the employee boss came down and apologized to me and said that the employee will not be bothering me anymore as she was arrested for trespassing and verbal harassment. Me and my wife found this gorgeous house, not yet on the market. Realtor had told us we owned all this nice forested land surrounding it, and we were sold. Once we were dealing with the logistics of buying, we found out we actually didn't own all this land and that someone would be building a huge house right next to us. For context, our driveway runs up the side of the house and the side is really like the front. We decide whatever, it can't be that bad. So the guy takes 2 years to build a massive house that dwarfs ours and kills our view. But whatever, we play nice the whole time, letting him use our power and water. We have to get along after all. I bite my tongue over all the inconveniences and him screwing me over and living through construction. Kept things on really good terms. When we were talking, this guy would tell me stories of times he had to move because of fights with neighbors. Trying to look tough, I guess. I didn't think much of it. It all started one day in the winter, the way my driveway is and how close his house is. He told me I could plow the snow on the small section on his side in between. I was very mindful not to hit the house with the snow and everything. One day, out of nowhere, he shows up at my door telling me to keep my snow on my own side. Okay, whatever. Fine, be a jerk. I'm not going to get into it with you. From there, it's him telling me he owns half my driveway cause it's on his property and he's going to rip it up and put up a fence and all this other nonsense. So I tried to work with him. He ended up not doing anything, but he held that over our heads to get his way on everything. He makes me move my shed, and it's like a mini house. Makes me install 180 feet of French drain over a bit of water runoff from the driveway. Meanwhile, he's putting hundreds of gallons of water on my property from his 2 downspouts on my side and doesn't do anything. One day, he decides to put up cameras and points them at our house from multiple angles. This bothers me, but we don't show it. Until a couple months later, he's out there moving them and adjusting angles to get better views of our main hangout areas in my yard, driveway, where me and my friends and family hang out. So my wife asks him if he can just not point them directly at us, and he brushes her off, so I go and have a word with him. This turned into a huge yelling match about all the nonsense happening. At this point, it's clear that we both hate each other. The only reason I can figure is that they are super religious, like having 8 kids and just being super religious. I'm covered in tattoos, piercings, ride motorcycles, and listen to all sorts of metal music. Though I'm no idiot, I'm respectful and keep my noise to a minimum, so I'm assuming he just didn't like my style. Anyway, after the camera fight, I decided I would start blasting my music in my garage with my garage doors open day in and day out anytime I got the chance. and I played some of the most morbid death metal and other songs that I am sure he wouldn't like just as screw as him. On top of that, I got a drone and started flying it around his house. Started doing hooligan stuff on my bike in the driveway, just being noisy. After a couple months, near Christmas, we see a for sale sign go up. Couple more months down the road and it's my birthday, and they are loading trucks and leaving. Best birthday present I could ask for. Though it made me angry that he brought a Christmas gift basket and my wife accepted it, I took this as a my pro revenge win. The gift basket thing just shows how crazy he was. We would do crazy stuff like that. Gift baskets, waving at us, saying hi, then turn around and do something to start a problem. I'll never understand it, but I'm glad it's over. New neighbors are quiet and never home. Workaholics, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Life is good. Last night I sent a text to my husband saying screw you if you can't apologize. Now he won't talk to me. Background. I've been the main cook for this family for 17 years. I am 40 years old. We have 5 kids. He is nearly 50 years old and he rarely cooks, but he's capable of cooking. 7 days ago I had a total hip replacement planned. I'm on crutches and a lot of pain meds. He is my carer. Yesterday at 7 p.m. he said he would start cooking dinner. I was concerned and starving and I asked him what dinner was. He said he was defrosting frozen chicken breasts for a HelloFresh meal. To set the scene, the lunch he served was half small plate of broccoli and sweet potato. No protein. Breakfast was a banana and a cuppa. I had to ask for 1 slice of toast. So by 7 p.m. I was starving, helpless, and in pain. When he said frozen chicken, I yelled, I know there is food in the fridge, please just bring something. Plan B was microwave lasagna, leftovers, which a neighbor delivered the day before, which he cooked, i.e. threw in the oven. Lacking protein, I started yelling again. I can't believe you can't find something proper. 17 years and I can't even trust you to feed me? Edit, lasagna is Woolworth brand basic lasagna. Not homemade. Neighbor was very kind to deliver it, but not high in protein. He got mad saying, don't you want food? I am offering chicken or lasagna with salad. What more do you want? How are you mad? I am offering you a choice here. I felt betrayed, disappointed, and unloved, but I needed to eat, so I told him lasagna. He served it, I ate it, and I went to bed. After 30 minutes, I'm still mad, so I texted him. I didn't think I would have to spell it out. Feeding a person is not difficult. Your plan of defrosting frozen chicken at 7 p.m. is ridiculous. Please have a nutritious meal for me tomorrow. The trust I had for you has been going for a while now, but this is a huge low. And for you to throw a fit and try to make me look like the crazy one? Screw you if you can't apologize. Edit, yes, I realize how awful this was, but I am mad. And I wanted real feedback, so being honest, I usually don't speak like this, but yes, the resentment is growing for more reasons. This is just an example. He says nothing and completely ignores the text message. This morning he goes to work as planned. My 16-year-old daughter is caring for me during the day. She feeds me well. He comes home at 6 p.m., but still, no apology. He makes the chicken dinner tonight. He defrosted it last night, brings it to me, and then he leaves silently. He parks himself in front of the TV, I eat and finish, but I cannot take care of the dirty plate, so it's sitting beside me on the bed. 10 minutes after I eat, I use crutches to hobble to get my own medication, and he ignored me while I struggled to get a glass of ice water and take the meds. It's an obvious struggle and he's choosing to ignore me. I manage to take the meds and as I walk by him to go to bed, he says nothing. He just now crawled into bed and is near asleep. He hasn't said anything to me yet. No how are you, no apology, no consideration, just pure silence. Does he owe me an apology or am I the jerk here? Edit for clarification, I am not sitting around in bed. I am walking as much as possible, following doctor and PT directions. It's my second hip replacement. First one was in 2018, early onset osteoarthritis. I can't cook yet though. He said he would. And now, with some comments on the post. Someone saying, everybody sucks. His idea of cooking meals is clearly lacking, no question. But how on earth do you escalate this to yelling so quickly? Why has the trust been gone for a while now? This seems like you have a ton of issues between you that you need to resolve. Another commenter adds, I've read some of these comments and I can understand that you are the jerk and everyone has a jerk opinions, but personally, I am going to say that you're not the jerk. I've been ill and in pain. Being hungry as well is awful. If you can't physically do anything about it, it can all get overwhelming. I can completely understand the outburst. My husband cannot cook. He's 50. I do all the meal planning, prepping and cooking in my house. Always have. Our joke is that it's because I want to live. I was ill and hospitalized for 6 weeks in a run-up to Christmas a fair few years back, and he stepped up. He made sure I had a steady supply of hot and cold drinks. I had snacks, I had proper food, and he was up and down between our bedroom and the kitchen like a jack-in-the-box. He even dragged me out of the house to walk up and down the street so I could get fresh air and ensure that I was still mobile, leaning on him the entire time. He can't cook, so he either ordered in heated up things from others or made sandwiches, slashed beans on toast and so on. I didn't have to ask for him to think of me. He just did it. If you can't step up for the person who's supposed to mean more to you than everyone else, excluding kids in the world, then why be there? He loves me, he did it, while working full-time and was a young child. I will be angry too, OP. I would also be devastated to realize I don't mean that much to him. A third commenter goes with, you're not describing a husband who cares about his wife, nor an empathetic human being noticing someone's pain and struggle. You're not the jerk, but your problem is the following. You're stuck, dependent, helpless, and in pain with a useless person who didn't even take the time to learn how to cook and feed someone he cares for, even in the time leading to your surgery. Who won't now that you're in recovery? Who thinks that doing less than bare minimum is still a feat? And who would rather be pity and watch you suffer than swallow his pride and help you? This is not a partner's behavior. This is not human decency behavior. Have somebody else take care of you in your time of need. You cannot count on him. You'll need all the help you can get. He has no grounds to be angry or hurt. Not the jerk. Note from OP. To clarify, I ordered easy HelloFresh meals to hopefully make it easier, rather than meal prep, because I was in a ton of pain leading up to the surgery and had to work full-time up until the day before surgery. He was fully aware he was in charge of food. I've been home for 3 days now and the first 2 days were okay. He can cook, he just doesn't do it because that has fallen into my responsibility. But he does when he needs to. He's not incapable. I would have loved takeaway and asked him to order out, but he didn't want to spend the money. Yes, there is a lot more going on, and yes, we need therapy.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.